Hi everyone, it's Justin Blaney with Inkless Live. We're so glad that you've joined us today. We have a great show lined up for you. We're going to be talking about how to create endless qualified leads for your company. And I have a brilliant guest with me today, Doug Hall. I'm going to have him introduce himself in a second. But the great thing about this show is it's interactive, and we want to make it possible for you to get your questions answered so that we can be talking about the specific context of your business, not just generic questions and answers. You can get that kind of content anywhere. You can read books, go to conferences, but this is really about a back and forth Q&A style workshop because we know that in order for you to move your business forward, you need to know the specifics of how to apply that to your company. And that's what Doug and I are here for today. So I encourage you to be a part of the show. Just use the hashtag InklessLive, or you can leave a comment on the show comment form on the page that you're watching this on. So let's get started. Doug, tell us real quick about yourself, and thanks for being on the show.
Well, good morning, Justin. It's great to be here. Thanks, everybody. My name's Doug Hall, and I'm from Seattle, Washington, a native of Wisconsin, so that makes me an original cheesehead, but a happy resident of the Puget Sound area. And just let me put in a plug there. We welcome any of you to visit anytime, particularly that Alaska cruise out of Seattle. So come see the beautiful Northwest.
So we're trying to keep it quiet that the weather is actually good up here because we don't want more people coming to the Northwest. So
that's right. It's raining. We're having our daily rain.
Yeah, that's why we have lots of movies about rain. You know, it's kind of our little dirty secret.
Yes, we're also sleepless. So, you know, you like your sleep, be careful with that. So, no, my day job is to help small business owners and large business owners too, small and large. I don't discriminate. The point is, closely held businesses have some unique challenges. And for the last 3 years, I've dedicated my career to helping closely held businesses get to the next level of performance. And I've got two major focal points for doing that. One is business owner acceleration, and that would be through the power of peer groups. And I run CEO Focus Seattle, which is a peer advisory business. And then I've recently ramped up Revenue Focus, which is intended to go to the same audience of companies with 5 to 50 employees, maybe 0 to 10 sales reps, and help them improve their ability to generate revenue on a predictable and reliable basis. And that's particularly challenging, Justin, in our post-recession internet age, when all the selling rules we learned in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s have been morphed into something totally new.
Well, that's basically what I want to talk, and I brought you on, Doug, because you and I have had private conversations about how the market has changed, and things just are so completely different. You used to be able to accelerate your revenue as a company by simply either hiring more salespeople or spending more on advertising. Traditional advertising worked really well for a season of time in our marketplace history. Hiring more salespeople was a brilliant strategy in the olden days compared to today. Doesn't really work anymore. So talk to me about how you've seen those changes take place. You know, maybe give us a brief history of where we were before, and then we can jump into, you know, what needs to be done today to generate qualified leads, because every business that I meet with, that is the thing that comes up again and again. You know, I sit in a lot of different councils, a lot of different business groups, and you go around the room and each person shares what they need. Usually they're pretty dang good salespeople. They have a great product or service typically, or they wouldn't be in business. And the one thing that could help them accelerate more than anything else for most companies I talk to is more leads, which is why we wanted to create a series about that to try to help solve this puzzle for as many businesses as possible. So give us a little bit of history on it, and then we'll dive into that.
Great. That's a great lead-in. I grew up in B2B sales. I was in the computer industry and sold minis, micros, mainframes. And then when the PCs came out in the 80s, I was involved in the PC computer store era. So I've seen the market sort of morph itself in the business-to-business environment for over these 30 plus years. And what used to be true is you would go someplace for something. You would call somebody for information. As a buyer, you didn't have ready access to information. So you called in a sales rep if you were large enough, or you went to a dealer or went to a store. And the best example of that is back in the day, we had computer stores in the business areas on every other corner. Today, you don't have computer stores anymore. We go online to Amazon, we go online to Dell, we pop into Best Buy, or a couple other places, and we do our shopping totally different than we did 25 years ago. What business owners need if they don't have a huge marketing machine already, and that's the assumption here, is they need more opportunities. They don't need more sales reps. They don't need more trade show contacts. They need more real opportunities. And most business owners, in my experience, make the mistake of equating getting more opportunities equals hiring more sales reps, like you said before. And that used to work when sales reps were an economical form of lead generation and leads migrating to opportunities. So I'll use the word opportunity to say you're talking to somebody that has a problem. That means they have pain. That means they're motivated to do something about it, and they have the funds to do something about it. That usually equates to a timetable. They could say, I'm going to solve my problem today, or I'm going to solve it in a week, or I'm going to solve it within 6 months. But the point is there's a time frame going on. At that point, somebody can engage in a sales cycle. There's the beginning of a sales cycle when those elements come together. So what we're talking about today is, well, what's the economical way for a closely held business with 5 to 50 employees to get into more sales cycles? So I'll share a couple more insights on that.
Yeah, so what we're talking about is the difference between, leads. A lot of marketing departments, I've worked with big companies, you'd send a marketing department out to a trade show, they'd come back with 500 leads, throw them down on your desk or email them to you or get them in the CRM. And the salespeople, I've been a salesperson, and you start to dig through those. First of all, you have very little time. You're always trying to focus on what is the most, low-hanging fruit. What customer can I close today? I've got quota at the end of the month. It's the last day of the month. Can I close somebody? You get these leads. You have a limited amount of time. You start going through them, and you get no response. A couple people do, and they say, man, I was just signing up to get a free iPad. And that's
right.
Leads in a lot of cases. And we spend tens of thousands of dollars going to trade shows, or, the stories could go on and on and on. What we really want is sales ready opportunities, which is a term that you use, Doug. It's an opportunity that is ready for a salesperson to take it and run with it. That's not just a lead. That's not just a customer. It's not just a prospect. It's actually had a lot of work done on it to get to that point. It's gone through a marketing funnel to get to the point where a salesperson can take it and run with it. And the cool thing is that is a different skill set that you need in that salesperson. It's not so much the hunter. It's a customer service relation manager. It's somebody that's great at asking questions, at consultative selling, and it's a lot easier to train and find that person than to keep the old hunter mindset salesperson motivated. So you get a lot of benefits from having a funnel that develops a sales ready opportunity and passes it to somebody who can simply get them over the finish line. Now that still takes skill. You can't just have anybody do that job, but it's a different kind of job, and it's more trainable. And really it just comes down to a customer service mindset. How can I serve this customer best? So
right. Let me step in there and interject something. I don't want you to go too far past it. A common mistake that business owners make is that hiring a sales rep or hiring a sales manager and thinking that that's a magic black box solution to increase revenue. And peeling the onion back, you're right. An opportunity is sales ready. There's a salesperson can talk to a prospect or customer about an opportunity. On the other side of a small divide is what I would call a sales ready lead. So a sales ready lead, we haven't quite figured out all those things that I said earlier. And we haven't had the initial meeting. To me, that's the great divide, is how do you have your initial meeting with a sales ready lead to make sure that they're a legitimate opportunity. And to correct the mistake that most business owners make, I would advise them to not hire that first sales rep, but instead hire an inside sales development representative. Have somebody on the phone and the web that takes the colder leads, the warmer leads, and we'll talk in future shows, I'm sure, about the whole funnel mechanism, but takes the warmer leads and ensures on the phone and on the internet and with your resources that through email, for example, which is still a great tool, make sure that the sales ready lead is really ready for an initial meeting. And then the business owner is often the best sales rep. So if the business owner is lined up with 1 or 2 or 3 quality opportunity meetings, an initial meeting a week, that's great. That can be 3 times as much as they're getting now. And imagine if they had 3 initial meetings a day, 5 days in a row, 15 quality meetings in a week. That business owner would be, that's the point where the business owner might be too busy to keep being the main salesperson, and then go find that kind of salesperson you're describing. But I think it's an after effect rather than a solution to a revenue challenge.
Well, in the companies that you and I serve most, these closely held, privately held companies where you can go in and knock on the door and and there's a business owner sitting right there in a chair that you can talk to. This person tends to be, by and large, by far, the best salesperson in the company. And it may not because they have a gregarious personality, or they tend to not fit the mold of a salesperson, but they have some things. They have passion, they have incredible knowledge, and
they have investment in the business.
Yeah,
they are, the buck stops with them.
Yeah, and so as a customer when you're talking to them that they're the one on the other end that makes it happen, and so that person is going to be incredibly difficult to replace with a salesperson unless you have a lot of momentum. And if you get to the point where that business owner is just swamped with quality leads, people raising their hand and saying, I want to talk to you. I'm like about to buy. I just need to have a few questions answered. That's when it becomes much easier to bring in a salesperson or a sales team to help handle that load. But if you as a business owner aren't getting enough of those leads now, and you think that by hiring a salesperson to go out and get those leads for you, it's going to solve your problem, all you're going to do is spend a lot of money. And I've worked with just dozens of companies that have done this, and it's so frustrating. I've tried to do it myself because we think it's natural to think, I'm just going to hire this great salesperson, magic solution, they're going to go out and get me some sales, and then the business is going to grow, and we spend a ton of money and time and energy. And I really, in the last 5 years, I have never seen that work once because the market has just shifted too dramatically. Have you ever seen it work? I mean, in the recent history?
I have not seen it work in recent history. And the one case I can say where I helped the client recruit 2 salespeople, they had to generate their own leads. One washed out within 3 months. One has stayed over a year. This person is of remarkable tenacity, was very young, didn't have to make very much money. And it was okay. It was okay for this person to be essentially a lead generator as compared to a salesperson. And I would really like us to be intellectually honest on that and say that if you're hiring a salesperson to make cold calls, you're simply hiring a different kind of telemarketer.
It's a marketing position.
Yeah, and putting them on the street to knock on doors cold only works in a couple industries. It might work with residential siding, windows, gutters, roofing, painting, because everybody you call on is a prospect, because every house door you knock on, they have housing, they have a roof, and they have gutters, and they have siding. But apart from that, in the business world, by my estimation, and I've done some research on this with among experts in the field, like the Sales Lead Management Association, 5 to 7% of all B2B prospects are active in the market in a buying cycle. I talked about a sales cycle before. Let's call it a buying cycle. Buying cycle means my pain and my money and my time frame has lined up and I'm ready to really buy something. 5 to 7% means 93 to 95% really aren't ready to buy. So when we talk to them, we need to be talking to them in a way that's anticipating they will be ready to buy sometime in the next year, 2 years, or 3 years, right? And a lot of B2B solutions have a 3 to 5 year life cycle. So you got to catch them at the right time in that 3 to 5 year life cycle. So you do that with lead generation. You don't do that with sales closing, do you? And it's not about closing for a meeting. I mean, I don't want to close for a meeting with a business owner that's not going to buy for 3 years. I want that business owner to be nurtured. I want them to be consuming information for 2.5 years. And then for the last 6 months, I want to ramp up into a sales cycle.
Yeah, it costs us nothing with an automation tool to have that person in a 3-year sales cycle. But the cost to do that with a salesperson are enormous. You'd go out of business.
Yeah. You go out of business, A, or B, they run away and go find a job where somebody will pay them something.
If you can get somebody, well, that's assuming you're going to pay this person's salary for 3 years to keep calling this prospect for when they're ready.
Right. So we have to find a cost-effective means of sifting through. If one opens the funnel as wide as possible, and let's say you have thousands of suspect customers in your target market area, the idea is to message those thousands and get your awareness up to a level where people can actually think about you as a potential solution provider. So when their number comes up in that 5 to 7% that are looking to buy, you're at their top of mind. You're up here, and you're in their eyeballs, you're in their brain, because you've created some, I don't want to overuse the word relationship, but let's say you've created enough awareness that there's some resonance with your business. They recognize your brand name, they recognize your locality or your industry fit, and they're receptive to your next touch. And let's call it drip marketing, for lack of a better word. You're dripping information to them in various means. And I don't think it's limited to anything. It could be cold calling on a telephone call, but I would use a telemarketing type person. It could be a sales development rep calling after somebody downloaded a white paper. Well, how'd they get the white paper? Maybe we sent them an email, or maybe they found us on a website, or maybe they found us on LinkedIn. So today we don't have time to go into all those techniques, but I think rather than that, going back to the beginning, think about the end and come back to the beginning. The end is we have an extra salesperson on board, really productive, offloading the business owner so the business owner doesn't sell all the time. Well, to get to that, it's probably a year of migration, and we would start with the lead generation, and we'd start with a sales coordinator, and we'd start with an inside sales development rep on the phone, at each of those positions being 1/10 of the cost of an outside sales rep if you do it fractionally, or 1/3 to 1/2 the cost of an outside sales rep if you hired a full-time person.
Yeah.
So I think those 3 roles in the organization are what I'd like to explore in future sessions. Is how do you fit an executive assistant or a sales coordinator in? How do you fit a sales development rep in, AKA inside rep? And then last and least, where does the owner and the sales professional person fit into the equation?
Yeah, absolutely. So the point of this series, and there's no way to tackle this all in one show, so what we decided to do at Inkless was create a whole series of workshops that are going to untangle the way that marketing is today. And really, marketing used to be about awareness. So marketing has been around for at least 100 years, and it's supported the sales process by generating demand or building awareness. And then salespeople could go out and they would have an easier job getting an appointment with somebody because they were from a company like IBM that had done a lot of advertising, and the name brand was known, so they could get the appointments, and that would help kind of grease the wheels. Today, so if you look at the funnel, marketing used to occupy really just the top, or maybe just dumping leads into the funnel or prospects in with awareness. Whereas now the funnel marketing is further down the funnel, and really sales is just the last tiny bit, because the world has become too saturated. There's too many messages out there. People are jaded to advertising, and unless you have $1 billion to spend, you're not going to get your message through. So for the companies that you and I work with, that just doesn't work.
Right, and I think the piece, and I totally agree with your recharacterization of the dividing line between marketing and sales in the funnel. It used to be the leads went to sales quickly, and in that little story you shared, the first reaction sales would have is, oh, thanks for those 200 leads. I called the first 30 and they all suck. I mean, that's the normal relationship between sales and marketing.
I don't think marketing and sales have ever liked each other, have they?
No. So the answer to that dilemma is we have to mature the lead longer. We have to have processes to do that. They have to be cost effective. We have to do more than one thing. And I think advertising still has a great role for awareness. But here's another major thing that's changed in the internet age. Again, the Sales Lead Management Association, SLMA, you can go look them up on the web. Their research indicates that in most cases, in fact, in virtually all cases of B2B buyers, up as many as 80%, 87% of the sales research has been done before the customer ever touches the organization that in a human way. In other words, sitting, and I like to use the analogy of, we go home, we're sitting with our spouse or our significant other, it's 9 o'clock at night, we're watching The Voice, and one of us has the iPad or tablet open, cruising the web, researching something that we didn't get to during the day, and we know we're not going to get to it tomorrow, but we want to research a solution or a problem, and so we're doing it at 9 o'clock at night. Yeah. Hey, 30 years ago, you couldn't do that.
Yeah, and we're all so busy. You gotta, you're doing it at odd hours. And where are you going to go? You can't call somebody at 9 o'clock at night or on Sunday morning when the kids are in bed. You got to go online, right?
Right. So that's that. We all do that. I don't care if you own a privately held business, or you're an individual entrepreneur, or you're part of a corporate entity. We all act that way now, and it's profoundly changed the rules of marketing and sales. So it's caused this shift that Justin talked about. It's caused the change in the funnel and the move, the duration of time that people research could even be longer than before. But it appears that they're buying faster because we're only seeing them at the bottom of the funnel. But in fact, because we're all so busy, and another post-recession effect, how many of you have replaced all the employees you laid off in 2007 and 2008? I don't have a single client that's replaced every employee, yet they're selling as much or more as back then. So the point is, we're all busier, we're all more productive because we're getting the revenue out with less people. That means we've invested in automation, and part of the automation is tablets and computers, and sit at home on the web, be able to research things at 9 o'clock at night. Now, what does that do for your quality of life? That's a whole nother conversation. But we're not here working on work-life balance.
Well, I recently bought a $10,000 software package for my company, and I had literally all but decided before I even contacted the company. And I had researched 4 or 5 of the top providers, and I had spent quite a bit of time downloading trials, getting information. And I had decided I just wanted to get a few last questions answered, and I'm thinking, this guy's got the easiest sale in the world because I just need a couple questions answered. And he's trying to sell me a little bit. And I'm thinking, dude, you don't even need to do that. I've already decided. Right. I just want to get my questions answered and send me the contract. So right. It's like an hour conversation perhaps. Yeah. And it used to be that would, you'd have to fly out to see me with your team, and we'd have to talk and do demos. And then I'd have 2 other companies come out, and it's just, those days are gone. So the point of this series, and even though this is sort of an introductory show and we're just trying to get you as an audience to know where we're going and why we're doing it, I do want to offer you some practical tips for how to start generating more leads today. And we didn't put a number on it because every company is different. Some companies need 1 lead a month, 1 qualified lead a month, and they could make their year double. Some companies need 10 a day or 100 a day. And right. So really what it's about is generating an endless stream of qualified referrals by creating an artificial intelligence marketing automation system that's doing the work that used to have to be done by hand. Now more and more and more of it can be done through automation, through software, through the proper tools. So we're going to be bringing in different experts to talk about the different tools that you can use to generate those qualified leads and build your business. But I want to just, sort of talk philosophically about how do we create a system that is going to generate those leads. And I want to get, Doug, your opinion on this too. While you're thinking about something to add to that, I'll just start off by saying that my philosophy is to find a way to be helpful to your client. It's quite simple. How do you become known by somebody? You help them. And it's the best way to be remembered by somebody. And it separates you from so many other people in the world who are constantly asking people for stuff. Think about that business owner. We talked about that man or that woman who's sitting in the office. They're a real person. They're not 100 shareholders. It's a business owner. Maybe it's a couple. Maybe it's a family who's sitting in an office. You can actually go into their office. You can knock on the door. You can sit there and you can talk to them. Think about that person. That's a very busy person. That's a person that probably has some wealth and success. And that type of person gets asked for things a lot. They're constantly getting bombarded with requests. They just dropped the kids off for school on their way to the office, and even their kids were asking them, Dad, I want, can I have the car this afternoon? Can I get $100 to go to the mall with my friends? They're constantly getting asked for things. And so we can separate ourselves from everybody else in the world who is asking them by just saying, hey, I'd like to help you out today. I know you might have a software need. We've developed this really great resource. We'd like to give it to you, no strings attached, to help you figure out how to make this decision. So my philosophy often comes back to, how do we help our clients grow? How do we help them achieve what they want to achieve in a way that illustrates us as a thought leader in that space? And if we can become famous for our helpfulness, which is the title of a book that I recently wrote called Famously Helpful, then I don't think we're ever going to need to look for another lead again. Because if we really were famous for being helpful in an area of expertise that we are doing business in, then why would we ever need to look for leads? We're famous for being helpful in this area. There's going to be people beating our door down, asking us for our time. And so it's just a completely different paradigm. It's built on helping people rather than asking for things. So that's the basic essence of how do you start generating more leads for your business, is find more ways to be helpful. And there's a million different ways to do it. There's tools, and there's ebooks, and there's automation, and there's software, and in every year something new, dozens, hundreds of new things come out that help us do that. But the basic philosophy remains the same. How do we figure out a way to be genuinely helpful to our client in a way that builds us up as an expert? So Doug, you have anything to add to that? And then we're going to close the show out here in a little bit. So maybe give us kind of your final thoughts on that. What's your philosophy around how to generate these leads in today's generation?
Well, before I ever met Justin a couple of years ago, I had established a bit of a tagline that I use in my LinkedIn profile, which is, I help CEO business owners take themselves and their company to the next level of performance. So I embody the helpfulness myself. And my challenge has been, and your challenge is, to determine, where do you help the most, right? Where do you help the most? What is the most acute problem or pain or productivity issue or whatever it may be that your service or your product provides to the client? And to Justin's point, how can you bring that helpfulness to them in a sort of almost a non-commercial way to hold yourself and your company out as being a solution provider in your space? And by sharing helpful tips and information, you nudge yourself towards becoming a thought leader. And again, we're not trying to turn you into Tony Robbins or whatever, but the point is, in your space, you can be famous for something. So the trick is zeroing in on your target customer or client, zeroing in on your highest and best value add, and turning those into helpful little chunks. So I think you're going to get a lot of insight from Justin, from the Inkless team in the background, and I'll be delighted to be helping along the way to help you guys answer those questions, because that is the basis of your go-to-market plan. You're already doing it. The point that Justin's trying to make, and I'm supporting him, is you can put a turbocharger on your engine. You're already plunking along. You may have a 4-cylinder engine and feel like you're not going very fast, but we sling a lead generation sales opportunity turbocharger on that thing, and you will move faster. We're not quite sure how much faster you'll move, but the point that Justin and I are committed to is doing it in a cost-effective, scalable, and sustainable way. Cost-effective is critical. The things we talk about have to be less than hiring that sales rep, that black box sales rep. I mean, you have to be able to add this capability for a small amount of money per month compared to hiring somebody. And the cool thing about adding technology and processes is there's no care and feeding of that person. There's no human element to it until the human work gets built into it. But once you have a process in place and you have tools in place, adding the human element becomes just plugging it in and running the system. And that's what Inkless is great at. And my specialty is sort of in the bottom of that funnel, taking the marketing processes and melding them into the sales opportunity process. So it's really fun to put that together. Justin and I partner on that. and it's very enjoyable work. And we look forward to meeting a bunch of you and helping you figure out your way down this path.
Absolutely. I mean, these principles work. I've seen them work in incredible ways in my business and other people's businesses. And so it's not a matter of if the principles can work for you. It's just a matter of how can we help you create some systems around what you want to do so that it actually gets done. Because a lot of people want to do it, but the fact is that even though you don't have to spend necessarily hard dollars on advertising, you are spending mental resources, time. I mean, it's hard work to help people. Amazingly enough, it's really hard to help people. And so, you have to be conscious about how you do it, and you have to be intentional, and you have to be dedicated. And it's more important to think about the long game than the short game. So there's a lot of nuance to how to approach this and get the most out of it. And, we would love to be your guides on that journey. This is simply Inkless's way of living out our promise to be helpful with no strings attached. And so we believe that if we can help you grow your business, that we're going to be accomplishing our mission, which is to help privately held businesses grow and reach levels that they have dreamed of, and reach the levels of success that they went into business to do, which isn't just about the money. It's always about helping the customer. I can't tell you how many business owners I've talked to that just have this passion for their product and their service. They're not in it for the money. They're in it to help people. So we come alongside people and help them help their client better. So Inkless Live is going to be twice a month show. It's an ongoing series dedicated to helping you generate qualified leads. Doug's going to be a regular guest on the show. We have a lot of other great guests lined up. We might have 2 or 3 on at once sometimes. And we're going to be talking about all the different ways to apply this in your business in a practical way, give you next steps, give you things that you can do today to help you build your business and generate endless qualified leads. So I hope you'll join us. If you just go to inkless.com/endlessleads, you'll see the series page there. You can sign up, and we're not going to spam you a bunch of stuff. All we're going to do is email you about upcoming shows that you might want to join. And we hope that we'll see you back next time. We've got the next show coming up is on the 22nd, and we have a great guest coming in from New York City who runs 6 different Vistage groups there and has run a lot of successful companies. So he's going to have a lot of great insights to share. And so I hope you'll pencil that into your calendar. And I hope to see you again on Inkless Live soon. Doug, thank you so much for your time and joining us.
Thanks, Justin. I enjoyed it. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you soon on Inkless Live.
All right. Take care, everyone.